Crusoe Cynnes, lovely to have you in the room today on this very special day, International Disability Day, a day where we celebrate with nations and our colleagues and friends around the world, and knowing that disabled people are here, vibrant and wanting to be involved in every way we can. I know some of you are still coming into the room, so I'll just throw out a few little things as we're all getting into it, because we all need to have some Zoom protocols so that we know how we're dealing with these weird ways of being in a room together. It's fantastic to have so many people coming into today. We have over 150 people registered. I hope they all get in. And we've got 8 countries represented, maybe more, but please do feel free to say hello in the chat and let us know who you are and where you're from. It will be really nice to be able to get a record of everything. Anyway, my name is Ruth Fabi. I'm the director of Disability Arts Cymru. I'm a white woman in my late middle ages. I have dark hair that's going grey, wearing glasses, and I have a dark top on. At the back of me on my screensaver, I have Ni Chain Angele, which is We Shall Not Be Erased. It's a thing we've been working on for over a year now to make sure during COVID, we are not forgotten and we are still included in all the plans for recovery and protected as well. Anyway, it's so lovely to be here, and we've been working very hard of late to get to this place, and we have an exciting mix of people in the Zoom with us. It's hard though. I'd love it if we were all in one room together, but technology is making it possible for us to be in here. So sorry, I'll finish my prattling. I'm going to give you the technical things you need to know about coming into the room tonight. It's not easy with Zoom, so your safety and your comfort is paramount. If you need to turn your camera off, move away from the screen for a while, please feel free to do it. But we have support in place, and I'd like you to be aware of what they are right now. Please keep your mic off unless you're speaking. We will have a 5-minute break at the top of the hour. That is for everyone to just move away from their cameras for 5 minutes, to just have that Zoom fatigue place away so that you can cope and your attention span is still with us. There is live captioning. You can either use the CC button along the bottom to have them along the bottom of your screen, or you can click into the stream text, which will open in another browser, and that will be put in the chat now. Almost. My technicians are not quite with me, but they should be putting it in now. There we are. Yes, like I'm magic. So we've got our text there. We also have signers. As you can see, we're going to keep pinning the signers in the Zoom at the right time. And everyone should give you a little audio description. We try to think of everything, but if you do have a problem, please let us know. Just put a message in the chat, or if you want to email, one of the staff members will be looking at it. But it's important you feel your needs are met. So let us know if you're struggling in any way. It's lovely to see all the people and where you're all coming from. Oh, it's great. Crusoe, welcome. It's lovely. Anyway, I think we're there. Today, we celebrate International Disability Day. It is amazing to think about different people we're joining with across the globe on this important day. So, diolch yn fawr for joining us for this important piece of work today. And the theme is Bring Us Our Creative Rights, Disabled People's Cultural and International Manifesto. We thank the Arts Council of Wales and Wales Arts International and Disability Wales for their support to develop this work, and for understanding we all have to do more to ensure disabled and deaf people from cradle to grave are seen, heard and valued as vital partakers within all that society has to offer. Too long we've been excluded, overlooked, patronised and ignored. but times they are a-changing. And we are pleased that we can take a lead in showing what affirming our rights in creative and cultural activities and in collaborations across the world can mean. This manifesto sets out 9 demands that can be used to assess progress, make changes, and puts action into realistic outcomes that all statutory, public and private sectors can use to make services and opportunities more inclusive, capturing diversity in its widest terms and acknowledging that we need to work together to make change really happen. All our speakers will explain how this can happen, and we are delighted they are joining us on this important day. Please feel free to tweet throughout the day using the hashtags Creative Rights or its Welsh equivalent. They should be in the chat now, yay, and they are. So please feel free to use them. Right, as we start this event, it is an arts organisation, an event that we're doing today. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome someone who's become a dear friend, an artist who we are hearing impaired comrades. And she's going to come and explain us a bit about her work. Her name is Cheryl Beer, and she is a musician and environmental sound artist, composer and eco-journalist living in the west coast of Wales. Please welcome Cheryl as she introduces her work. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And I just want to say well done on your award last night. That's fantastic, Disability Arts Cymru. And thank you for inviting me today. My pronouns are she, her. I am a woman in her 50s with long sort of grey-brown hair and a black jumper. And as Ruth says, I live in West Wales. Today I'm in my home office speaking to you. It was a great honour and a great privilege to create a piece of work in response to the manifesto. I felt quite passionate about the manifesto because I know that we as disabled artists are right in the heart of it, because I went to one of the many meetings that were held online for us to speak openly and honestly about what our creative rights are and should be and could be. And I also filled in the survey that came out to all of us. So I know that that manifesto is really of the people. It's really of the disabled arts community. So it's not just a legislative document, it's actually very human. And Ruth asked me, she commissioned me to write a piece in response to that from an eco-ableist point of view, which was appropriate for me as an environmental sound artist and composer. I'm currently in the rainforests of Wales with an unlimited main commission, notating and writing music from the biorhythms of trees by repurposing hearing aid and biomedical science and technology. So I won't say much more. It's a digital piece. In the piece, there's a photograph of me laying down on the autumn leaves in Ennan Valley rainforest with my hearing aids in, listening. And I'll hand you to Owain, who's going to play the piece for us. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. I wonder if you've got the volume on, actually, Owain. I wonder if you click the volume, but the sound button.
Oh, sorry, I'll try again.
Hitch, Owain, if you can just go back to the beginning, make sure the sound's on, that'd be great, thanks.
Barred Beneath the Bark draws a comparative dialogue between the discourse of climate crisis and the position of disabled people both within the cultural arts sector and wider society. The human voice of the spoken word poet shares space with notated oak tree biorhythms from Coed Fel and Reed, composed for piano. Both sit in collaboration throughout, performing in duet. Poignant indeed, as Fenn Reid features in the Mabinogion, Wales's most ancient story text. Featuring also is the added voice of birdsong from Coed Garthgal rainforest, reuniting trees that would once have been joined together under the soil. You ask, what is the answer? And I say, compassion. Stripped right back to the core, in every decision a desire to nurture, and moreover, a truth that we can no longer ignore. Metamorphosis happened and flattened the game. Now everyone knows what it's like to be locked in, and nothing can quite be the same. For we are quietly radical. Bards of the bark, repurposing hearing aids, state of the art, the song of the trees, a joyous vibration, ancestral breath, long meditation. So what can we learn? Who shall we keep? Which simple things can awaken the sleep? I say, turn to the oak and watch how she grows, spreading her roots so that everyone knows that no one is more and no one is less. Beneath the soil, together is best. Or maybe the rowan, gentle but wise, reciprocal lessons, true love with no lies, the joy of the berry when shared with the bird, the silence, the chorus of every winged bird, the deep conversations all night and all day, yet no one pays notice to what the trees say. Now, you may not hear them, but you know that they're there. Perhaps you've neglected to show that you care, but now is the chance to turn it around. Be part of the dance. Let your feet touch the ground, or your chair wheels, or your crutches. All this while, you've searched for a sign, and we were right here in front of you all of the time. And soon 'twill be manifesto, written in law, lest you forget, like has happened before. Now we are the forest, stood too long in the dark. Come into the light, bards of the bark, for robins have called you and sat at your feet. The time to be hidden is done and complete. Be humble, yet noble. Be all that you dream. Be lights, camera, action. Be heard and be seen.
Wonderful. I'm quite emotional after that. I don't know what anyone else feels. And to know the biorhythms of the trees, which we can just ignore so much what's around us in the beauty of nature. I think it's nice for us to have that, as we've been able to relax with that. Beautiful words. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. One of the things I should have said at the start is we do have Welsh translation, well, English translation from Welsh, and we really want to encourage any Welsh speakers in the room to speak. We want to hear as much Welsh as we can. I'm not sure people are aware, but traditionally many disabled people were excluded from learning Welsh. So there's many disabled Welsh people within Wales who don't get the opportunity to learn Welsh, but we're on a mission to change that within DAC. We want to get more and more Welsh voices into our work. So if you're speaking in Welsh, for those of us who want to hear in English, you'll see at the bottom of your Zoom, there's a little globe icon. Please press on that. And it sounds weird because Zoom hasn't acknowledged Welsh yet. So we have to click on French. So when you click on French, you'll hear the English back. So please remember to do that. You'll also see on the bottom of the Zoom screen, there's a Q&A box. Please feel free to ask questions of any of the things that you hear today. We're going to try and pick them up, particularly in the second half later. So do use them. Right, I'm going to move swiftly on now after that wonderful intro to the whole event by Cheryl. Diolch yn fawr, Cheryl. I'm really delighted to introduce the Chair of Arts Council of Wales, Phil George, and Eleanor Morgan, I said the wrong name. Oh, I'm so sorry. Eleanor Happ, who's actually been very involved in doing this project with us. See, I need to write everything down and I didn't write that down. So I need a script. Eleanor is the head of Welsh Arts International, and she's been really instrumental in helping us develop this. And so she is going to speak after Phil, or as a twist, I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but Eleanor will be speaking in Welsh. So do get your globe button into French if you need to hear the English. So the chair, Phil George, is actually a proud boy of the Rhondda, and he's been leading the Arts Council of Wales since 2016, and I'm delighted to get to know him more now I'm a council member. So please welcome Phil George and Eleanor.
Well, Prynawn da bawb, it's great to be with you on this important day. And thank you, first of all, of course, to Cheryl for that lovely piece. I'm delighted to speak today in active solidarity with this manifesto. Arts Council of Wales and our international arm, Wales Arts International, have supported the important piece of work which is launched publicly today. Crucially, we remember that to bring us our creative rights is based on Articles 30 and 32 within the United Nations Convention for the Rights of Disabled People. And this international precedent underpins the campaign in Wales to ensure disabled, deaf and neurodivergent people have the same rights to cultural expression and activity as other of their fellow citizens. You will have heard already, I'm sure, that Arts Council of Wales has prioritised widening engagement in the arts, affirming, inviting, and enabling currently underserved communities and individuals to access the arts. We are committed to this in our own organisation, where our council membership has become markedly more diverse, but where we still have a long way to go. And we are committed to these objectives of diversity and inclusion in all our funding programmes, and particularly in our expectations of the revenue-funded organisations in our Arts Portfolio Wales, the 67 organisations we fund on an annual basis. Our own programmes, I mentioned, they include Creative Steps, with its focus on development in organizations which have diverse leadership, the high-profile commissions to disabled artists in the Unlimited program, the leading-edge disability access card scheme, HINT, which is now being picked up across the UK in other nations, and the Sharing Together scheme, building networks and information. Just a few of the special programs. But of course, as I say, this funding emphasis is across all our programs in lottery and elsewhere. As regards the arts portfolio itself, those organizations we revenue fund, we expect to see clear and substantial progress in enabling disabled and deaf people to access the creative sector as artists, practitioners, participants, and consumers, and crucially also on boards as trustees. The presence and insights of disabled and deaf people in governance will help to change consciousness. Now, this change, this urgently needed change, will not be achieved if we fail to make co-production a normal feature of the way we work. We're emphatically not talking about benevolence, but about rights and a response to unacceptable inequality. And these things can only be put right in collaboration with deaf and disabled people. In this process, disability-focused organizations like DAC or Hijinks are obviously important, as is leadership by disabled people. But we need to open up opportunities across the whole arts scene. Not to do so would not only be unjust, but would represent a shocking and costly waste of talent. Talent that could enrich the whole society. The talent which surrounds us today in the people attending this webinar and on the screen. In this journey towards greater diversity and broader inclusion, Arts Council of Wales welcomes the manifesto and its recommendations as providing urgently necessary challenges and useful standards to benchmark our work in Welsh society. And I promise that these challenges and standards, as a key part of our agenda to widen engagement with the arts, will be important factors in our investment review decisions. That's when we review the organizations that we revenue fund and see who stays in the portfolio and who leaves and who comes in. And when we do that exercise, which will deliver a new arts portfolio for 2024, these standards, these challenges will be centrally at the heart of our decision making. Many thanks. Diolch yn fawr. Ac yn awr, gair o Eluned Haf sy'n bennaf Celfyddydau Anabledd Cymru.
Diolch yn fawr, Phil, a diolch yn fawr, Ruth, a'r tîm. Dwi'n ddynas ganol oed, efo gwallt brown, a fringe, a bob, a spectol gen i. Mae yna lun Ogledd Cymru a'r Wyddfa tu ôl i fi o ddilyn. Fy rhagenwyd i hi hon. A llongyfarchiadau mawr i Ruth a'r tîm ar y wobr cael mewn busnes i ddechrau, ac hefyd i Cheryl Bir am waith mor hyfryd i ddechrau'r sesiwn. Da ni'n falch iawn o gydweithio efo DAC ac yn ddiolchgar iawn am ei gwaith diflino. A diolch i'r tîm ehangach yn DAC ag fy nhîm i yn Celfyddydau Rhyngwladol Cymru ag yng Cyngor Celfyddydau Cymru. Da ni'n gweld cyfle pendant i ymrwymo i'r gwaith sydd wedi amlygu yma yn y manifesto, fel mae Phil wedi eisiau wedi deud, ond hefyd yn edrych ymlaen i fod yn cydweithio drwy ddeddf llesiant cenedlaethau'r dyfodol. Bu wai yn cydweithio efo DAC dros y misoedd dwytha i greu arolwg ac i gynnal sgyrsiau efo artistiaid, pobl a sefydliadau sy'n gweithio efo pobl efo anableddau. Mae'n hollol amlwg fod gynnon ni lot o waith dal i wneud i ddiddymu rhwystrau ac i greu gofod i bobl efo anableddau'n rhan o'n prosesau ni, prosesau ariannu a'n prosesau prosiectau, a hefyd wrth gwrs i fedru cydweithio yn rhyngwladol. Mae'r gwaith yma yn rhan o broses hir dymor gennym ni i ailfeddwl yn gwaith rhyngwladol ni ac i roi cydraddoldeb yng nghanol y gwaith hwn. Mi fydd yna gyfle i roid y gwaith yma ar waith dros y flwyddyn nesaf wrth i ni ailystyried yn prosesau ariannu. Hoffwn ddiolch i'n partneriaeth rhyngwladol British Council ac On The Move hefyd, a chanmol adroddiad pwysig iawn gath i lawnsio bore yma o'r enw Time to Act. Clywsom 3 peth yn glir iawn a'r un themau yn dod allan o'r arolwg yng Nghymru. Yn gyntaf, bod angen i ni gydnabod yr anwybodaeth a'r ansicrwydd o fewn ein sefydliadau ynglŷn â gwaith artistiaid gyda anableddau. Mae anwybodaeth yn gyfystyr a chreu rhwystrau. Da ni'n hynod lwcus yng Nghymru fod gennym ni gorff fel Celfyddydau Anabledd Cymru i weithio efo ni ac efo'n portffolio ehangach ar Celfyddydau yng Nghymru, i'n cadw ni ar flaen yn seddi ac i wneud siŵr bod ni'n diddymu unrhyw rwystrau. Yn ail, mae angen i'r cyrff sy'n ariannu i'r Celfyddydau gyfarwyddo a gweld lot fwy o waith artistiaid gyda anableddau, fel y gwaith da ni wedi gweld heddiw gan Cheryl, ac wrth gwrs dwi wedi cael y fraint o fod yn cydweithio efo cyrff fel Hijinks, sydd wedi cael ei gweld yn rhyngwladol a'i derbyn yn rhyngwladol ac yn arwain y gad. Mae'r gwaith yma yn cyfrannu at ffurfiau celf amrywiol a hyfyw yng Nghymru, a maen nhw'n hynod bwysig. Ac yn drydydd, y peth ola ydy bod angen creu lle wrth ein byrddau ac yn ein holl brosesau a gofyn i bobl anabl sut maen nhw eisiau cael eu cynrychioli. Felly hoffen i groesawu Dewch Hawliau Creadigol a diolch o galon i bawb am fod yma heddiw, ac edrych ymlaen i gynnal y sgyrsiau ac i glywed mwy, ac yn bwysicach na dim i fynd ymlaen ar gwaith sydd angen i wneud. Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr. It was so great of you, great thoughts in there, expressed in there, that has moved our conversation on. You know, for years working in the sector, it was always about access, but now we're being put at the heart of the work. And that is so important. I just want to check we get the right interpreter in the room. We seem to have lost, okay, we're back there. Okay, moving swiftly on, it gives me immense joy to welcome our keynote for this evening, or late this afternoon, I should say. It feels it because it's gone very dark here in the UK. I'm delighted that the marvellous Kate O'Reilly is going to present her thoughts and challenges from this manifesto. First, some words about Kate. She's a playwright, a radio dramatist, a writer, a dramaturge who works in disability arts, culture and mainstream culture. She has won many awards over the years for her work, including the Peggy Ramsey Award for Yard, Bush in London, and Peeling at Grey Eye Theatre, a Theatre Wales Award, and also the Ted Hughes Award for New Works in Poetry for her reworking of Aeschylus's, I hope I pronounced that right, Persians for National Theatre Wales in their inaugural year. So her work is extensive, but as a friend, I know her passion and her stance for rights and justice is really strong. So please welcome the marvellous Kate O'Reilly with her keynote. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Diolch yn fawr. I'm Kate O'Reilly, a white Irish woman with short, dark, curly hair and blue eyes behind glasses. And I say, bring us our creative rights. A manifesto for culture and international collaboration. Manifesto, noun, a public declaration of policy and aims. Manifest, verb, to give evidence of, to make apparent, to appear. Today, we do both. Introduce the public declaration of our manifesto and make the argument for adopting our aims manifest, clear, apparent, and by doing so, make those so often overlooked appear. Disability Arts Cymru, Disability Wales, Arts Council Wales, and Wales Arts International, in consultation with the deaf, disabled, and neurodivergent people of Wales, today launch the Disabled People's Cultural and International Manifesto, using, as we heard earlier from Phil, as a basis, the UN's Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, Article 30, recognizing the right of disabled people to take part in cultural life, and Article 34, ensuring that international cooperation is inclusive of and accessible to all disabled people. As a disabled artist and a citizen of Wales, it is an immense honour to introduce this manifesto and, on this day, International Disabled Peoples Day. I moved to Wales in 1992, and I've made my life here, grateful for the gifts this small nation has given me. A home, a community, friends, allies, and collaborators. It has also given me hope. Wales has a long, proud history of being radical. From our welfare state to the Well-Being of Future Generations Act, Wales has often led the way. Where Wales is today, others will be tomorrow. The adoption of our manifesto and its recommendations at every level of society is yet another way that Wales can take the lead, inspire others to follow, even if it is somewhat later than my community would have wished. I want to talk about social injustice. Injustice is the result of conscious human decisions, but it's temporary, able to be changed by the will of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The rights and freedoms we so often take for granted were not given. They were won. Women's rights, workers' rights, rights against racist discrimination, and the right to love who we want without prejudice. We have these rights because people fought, struggled, organized, campaigned, and said, no, this is not enough. This is not fair. This is not equitable. And so to our manifesto today. The history of social justice is not linear, going from one success to the next, mending our unjust systems as we go. Rather, it is cyclical, full of retreats, defeats, and setbacks. For those of us who have been involved for decades in the disabled people's movement, we often remark how we've been having the same conversation for 30 years. And those achievements, which once made the UK shine like a beacon, have been eroded. We're slipping back, losing what was so hard won. But some things we have never had, including equal creative rights. Creativity and self-expression is a fundamental human right, representing the diversity of Wales and bringing that out into the world through international collaboration. It's crucial to the future of our society, economy, and culture, and the well-being of everyone. What is presented currently does not reflect the diversity of our nation or the potential for innovation, fresh perspectives, and means of expression informed by lived experience. This skewed, biased view, omitting many lives, is damaging for all. We know individuals are susceptible to the media they consume and the social norms depicted there. Invisibility or negative portrayals of certain groups deny their existence in society, and dehumanizes them. We need to challenge symbolic annihilation, which has been defined as a form of subtle or gentle violence, which disregards the legitimacy of an identity. More fundamentally, there is immense damage done to individuals who do not see themselves reflected in any media or cultural representation of Welsh life. You have to see it to be it. Although disabled people make up over 22% of the population in Wales, we are not represented proportionately, rendering us invisible, passive, disenfranchised. The majority of stories depicted in our media are predominantly by non-disabled people who believe they understand the reality of our lives, but who don't, and instead rely on problematic stereotypes of the helpless burden or the inspirational supercrip, while tragic but brave narratives revolving around our treatment are still dominant, as though our diagnosis was all we were. The normative, ableist agenda continues, intensified by the barriers to education, training, and professional opportunities, denying alternative perspectives to be shared by disabled and deaf artists, and thereby impoverishing everyone. In reality, the disability community is dynamic, diverse, intersectional, creative, and innovative, but it is still overlooked, underdeveloped, underfunded, and undervalued. A culture and world unknown and unfamiliar to many in the so-called mainstream, owing to factors including the historical impact of segregation, institutionalization, and systemic ableism. We have often incorrectly been seen as less, what Tobin Cybers calls the ideology of ability, which privileges and values able-bodiedness above all else and perceives disability as a deficit. In our cultural understanding of what it is to be human, disability is often placed below ability. Historically, ableist notions and cultural narrative has put disability at odds with beauty, talent, strength, assumed leadership qualities, success, happiness. Which is why, until disabled people are supported in our cultural and creative rights, we are denying society and its citizens vital, innovative perspectives, as well as a balanced view of a more equitable society. It's more than having access as audience, artists, and consumers of culture. It's our rights, and it impacts on us all. As one of our respondees said, it's those shared barriers that we need to address in a manifesto, isn't it? The understanding that we're all different, but that we have these kinds of shared blocks, if you like, in the cultural narrative. It's a recognized fact that the infrastructure and superstructure of our society has been constructed to exclude us. It is rigged to favor the interests of the privileged few. These structures are now in the process of being dismantled. Diversity and inclusion are buzzwords, but these changes primarily happened because of political activity, campaigning, and activism, which made us visible, and after a struggle granted us, on paper at least, our human rights equal to others. I say, on paper at least, as even now there are loopholes which undermine anti-discrimination legislation and the rights of public access. Reasonable adjustments does not go far enough. Recognizing us does not go far enough. We need allies fighting with us, not advocates speaking for us. We need the Welsh Government and all public organisations to show not just their desire, but their willingness for change through deeds, as the suffragette said, not just words. To commit to inclusive practice, which reflects the society we live in, which doesn't exclude, but enables, and which defines disabled and deaf people's participation in culture as not solely being audience and consumers, but creatives working nationally and internationally. So let's talk a little about allies. Any advance or success in social justice is down to passionate, complicated women and men who fought to bring about change. But the work of firebrands is not enough. We have all seen these alleged advances and equalities eroded or not brought into full action. So we need allies who will campaign and work alongside us. To have meaningful, long-lasting impact, we need organisations to take on our manifesto actively and thoroughly, and not just lip service or reasonable adjustments, but to be an ally, finding our common ground, the intersectionality of our lived experience, to acknowledge the connections so we're not divided and ruled, but stronger together. As one of the respondees to the manifesto said, it's not about segregating us and going, oh, we ticked our box. There is us, the disabled, and there is the normal. We're all one. We're all people. Many disabled people who participated in creating the manifesto said they felt issues that impacted on them were disregarded, ignored, or not seen as important. So as allies, what can people and organisations do? The manifesto has a wealth of recommendations and actions which will bring about change. But here are just a few I propose. Read the manifesto. It's a collaboration created from the minds, hearts, and lived experience of deaf, disabled, and neurodivergent people of Wales. Adopt our recommendations and embed them into every facet of Welsh life. Work with us to dismantle the multiple barriers that impede training, opportunity, and career development of disabled and deaf people within the creative sector and beyond. Educate yourself regarding access and the lived experience of disability. Be willing to change cultures and behaviours that directly exclude us. Disability Arts Cymru is calling on Wales's political parties to introduce Welsh law that will ensure its arts and creative organisations, film and TV sector, museums and galleries, arts and culture funders, and statutory and private bodies commit to incorporating the rights within the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Disabled People. This way, Disability Arts Cymru can support all bodies from local to national level to commit to implementing key actions throughout their provision to support disabled people to have an equal and fuller role in the wider cultural life of the nation. As one of our participants said, we just want to be included because it's our right to be included. So what are we gaining through bringing creative rights to disabled, deaf, and neurodivergent people? A lot. In 2007, Turner Prize nominee artist Yinka Shonabari described disability arts as the last great avant-garde movement. He compared it to the early days of feminism and the Black rights movement, offering that it was a powerful dynamic that spoke more about aesthetic talent and inclusivity than non-normative bodies. According to disability studies scholar Colin Cameron, disability arts has at its heart the principles of transgression, resistance, and affirmation. It's transgressive in that it involves a refusal by disabled people to identify themselves in terms of personal tragedy as the dominant culture represents and seeks to recognize them. It embodies resistance to discourses of normality and abnormality, and it affirms by establishing difference as something to be expected and respected, valued on its own terms as part of ordinary human experience. Discovering new ways of doing things is a characteristic of living with a disability and a hallmark of creativity and, I would argue, disability culture. As to me, I believe the following. A politicized, embodied disability perspective seeks to embrace all the possibilities of human variety, challenging notions of normalcy and the body beautiful, celebrating the new perspectives and possibilities for creative exploration that difference brings. In my own experience over 30 years, disabled, deaf, and neurodivergent creatives lead the way in innovation, in process, content, and form. Given the benefits for all with this, why would you not support our manifesto? I've been using the term we a lot. What are we? Creative, inventive, resilient, political. We are artists and scientists, parents and siblings, lovers, friends, co-conspirators and challengers. We confront the soft and hard ableism in our society and workplaces, which is comfortable and invisible to so many without that lived experience. We seek social justice and fight prejudice on a daily basis. We are rebels and reformists, protesters and proactive problem solvers, where your sister, your partner, your child, your work colleague, and we are not being given our creative rights. We are not enabled to participate and contribute as others. As a consequence, art and culture is losing out. New developments, perspectives, and innovations are frozen. As long as discrimination and inequities remain, as long as certain individuals are valued less than others, the potential for us to create a peaceful, equitable, inclusive world will not be realized. Change happens because people recognize social injustice and in their actions and words say, no, this is not enough. This is not fair. This is not equitable. Recognize this injustice, act upon it, and extraordinary benefits will follow. Work with us and alongside us for change and equity, for together we are the future. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Kate. Oh, stirring words there. I love being part of this community, this collaboration of artists from around the world, from our lived experience. And there's a lot in there that we're going to need to take away and digest. We'll come back to it a bit later on. If you've got any questions for Kate, put them in the Q&A. We hope to be able to do some question and answers a bit later on after the break. But first of all, we're going to move swiftly on to welcome the Minister for Social Justice for the Welsh Government, the Right Honourable Jane Hutt. She spent part of her childhood in Uganda and Kenya and educated in economics and has lived in Wales since 1972. Her work is just phenomenal, and I'm really honoured that she's here to give us a point of view from the Welsh Government on this. So welcome, Jane. She is in the room, isn't she?
I'm sorry. No, I don't. I've accessed the meeting with her. Like, I'm the official, so I'm currently. I'll log out.
Is Jane going to join us?
I've not seen. She should be able to access the meeting.
Okay.
But she hasn't. I will leave just in case there's a problem.
Okay, so we move on with the other speaker then,
Yeah.
if we haven't got Jane. Oh, right, okay. Well, we're going to move on. Jane will come back, I'm sure, to give us the Welsh Government's point of view about how important this rights manifesto is. So I'm going to move on to the speaker who's following Jane, and that is, I'm going to say the Right Honourable again, because Rhiannon Davies is a force of nature. And I'm really pleased to find out that she actually started working in Disability Arts Cymru years and years ago in disability activism. She is now the Chief Executive of Disability Wales, and we are following in her wake, really, because she actually started the work last year with Bring Us Our Rights, looking at other elements of the United Nations Convention. So over to you, Rhiannon. Diolch yn fawr, and I'm looking forward to what you have to say.
Oh, diolch, Ruth. It's a huge pleasure to be here and to be celebrating International Day of Disabled People with all our friends and colleagues in Disability Arts Cymru. Firstly, congratulations on your Arts and Business Award. We're really thrilled to hear that, a brilliant achievement. And also for this event this afternoon or this evening. I think it feels like now, I think it's quite dark outside. We've been really delighted to be part of the process in working with you to shape the manifesto. And we're so delighted that you chose to use our manifesto, Bring Us Our Rights, as a starting point and template. I think that demonstrates huge solidarity between our organisations, which I think is really important for the way forward for disability rights and equality in Wales. And also thanks so much to Kate for that fantastic tour de force. It's to actually come after you is a bit nerve-wracking, but you just sum it up so well and so poetically. It's brilliant. So what I wanted to, so I'm Rhiannon Davies, Chief Executive of Disability Wales. We're the National Association of Disabled People's Organisations in Wales. I'm thrilled that Disability Arts Cymru is one of our members, one of our full member DPOs. In terms of description, I'm also I think now in the middle-aged category. I have shoulder length hair, which I embraced, lockdown grey, and I'm wearing my reading glasses for this process. So Disability Wales, we've since the ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People by the UK government, which Welsh Government is bound into, we've certainly done all we can to promote the understanding and knowledge of the UNCRDP in Wales, and to influence Welsh Government and other bodies to incorporate it, but also to implement it through various strategies, such as the Framework for Action on Independent Living, and more recently the Framework for Action on Disability. We produced our manifesto, Bring Us Our Rights, and launched it this time last year on the International Day of Disabled People 2020. And our central call for action in our manifesto was the full incorporation of the UN CRDP into Welsh law and policy. We developed our manifesto during the first lockdown in spring and summer of 2020. We ran 9 focus groups around Wales. We also had a survey, so I think about over 200 people engaged in our manifesto. And how we present, and one of the questions that we asked was, to what extent do people feel that their rights as disabled people are respected, and how optimistic, are you that those rights will be implemented? And I suppose soberingly, we found that 68% of people who replied did not feel that their rights are being respected or adequately enforced as disabled people in Wales, and 76% were not confident that this would improve over the next 5 years. As I say, these findings emerged over the summer of 2020 when we were coming out of the first lockdown. And of course, we learned since the very grim statistics that disabled people comprise 68% of COVID related deaths in Wales. The lack of public and media attention to this fact highlights what we all feel is the ableist attitudes that exist, and that the perception that such a high death rate among disabled people is inevitable, a perception that we strongly refute and challenge. I think we also found, during the pandemic, that the reversion to the medical model of disability and medical model language referring to disabled people as extremely clinically vulnerable, people who need to shield, while not actually providing appropriate support or giving high enough priority to disabled people in terms of things like vaccine policy. So it's understandable, why disabled people have taken such a pessimistic view. In our manifesto, Bring Us Our Rights, as well as calling for full incorporation of the UNCRDP, based on the findings and what disabled people told us through engagement, we structured it around our manifesto around 5 of the rights in the UNCRDP. So Article 8, which is around disability awareness, Article 19, the right to independent living, Article 25 on right to health, Article 27, which is around employment and opportunities and sort of challenging discrimination in employment, and Article 28, which is around standard of living and social protection. And there we particularly focused on housing because that was a main area of concern for many disabled people in Wales. So as well as calling for full incorporation of the UNCRDP in Welsh law, what we also did with our manifesto was look at some of the practical things that could be done that would actually make rights a reality, because we all know that rights can exist on paper, but have, when it actually comes to the way in which services are delivered or designed or resources are allocated, those rights can quickly disappear. So some of the things that we call for were about exploring the role of a disabled people's commissioner. There's an older people's commissioner in Wales, there's a children's commissioner in Wales, there's a Welsh language commissioner, a future generations commissioner as well. What we would want to see is an exploration of the role of a disabled people's commissioner to enforce disabled people's rights in Wales, particularly in relation to the UNCRDP. We've called for the establishment and support of a disabled people's organisation in every local authority area. to act as the voice of disabled people at grassroots level, to see disability equality in the curriculum, for Welsh Government to provide a beacon of best practice as an employer of disabled people, to make disability equality training delivered by disabled people mandatory at all levels of government and public bodies, and to protect the rights of disabled people in the workplace through ensuring access to discrimination advice services. In areas such as housing, to see accessibility standards for social housing in Wales to be developed in co-production with disabled people, and to ensure people's rights to independent living through greater use of direct payments, for example, and to ensure that the services are designed in co-production with disabled people, to ensure that everyone enjoys the full right to independent living. So we presented our manifesto ahead of the Senedd 2021 elections, and we ran a number of hustings events, and we were with candidates from across all political parties in Wales. And we were absolutely thrilled to get cross-party support for the main call for action, which was incorporation of the UNCRDP. And as that included a commitment from Welsh Labour, who then formed the Welsh Government, we were even more delighted to see that made a commitment in the programme for government. So over the next 5 years, Welsh Government, and I'm sure the Minister, hopefully she will join us, will be reiterating that commitment to incorporation over the next 5 years. So I think that was a real achievement of the campaigning of all disabled people across Wales to get that cross-party commitment. And I think the key issue for us now is to hold Welsh Government to account, to ensure that it is actually delivered, and the mechanisms are put in place to make it a reality. Is the Minister here now?
She is, yes.
Is she able to join us? I can pause there.
Yeah, if you could just surmise your last
Okay,
point,
brilliant.
Great, thank
so
you.
Alongside the work that we were doing on the manifesto, Disability Wales is also very involved in the Disability Quality Forum steering group that produced the locked out report on the impact of COVID on disabled people. The locked out report also took on board some of our calls to action in our manifesto as part of its recommendations and findings. And in response to the locked out report, the Welsh Government ministers, including the First Minister, agreed to set up and establish a disability rights task force, which got off the ground with its inaugural meeting last month. We will be, Disability Wales as well as Disability Arts Cymru is involved in that. And there will be a number of thematic groups that will take forward the recommendations. And I think it's very timely that the Bring Us Our Creative Rights manifesto is being launched today, because I think it will have an important role in informing and influencing the development of the Disability Rights Action Plan, which will be one of the outputs of the task force, reminding everybody of the fact, as Kate says, that cultural and creative rights, creative participation is a right, it's not an extra. And the fact that as disabled artists make an enormous contribution, not just to the economy of Wales, but also the ensuring that self-expression is a key cornerstone of activism and sharing the rights and equality of all disabled people. So I'd just like to end by saying not only bring us our rights, but also bring us our creative rights. Diolch yn fawr.
Oh, thank you ever so much. Diolch yn fawr. I always get quite emotional. I've got to keep focused, but we need to get Jane Hutt in the room, our wonderful Minister for Social Justice. I'm sorry about that, Michael. You were in with the wrong group of people, but I'm sorry. No, we're all the right group of people, but we're the panelists. So over to you, Jane. I've already done your intro.
Well, thank you very much, Diolch yn fawr, Ruth. And I just want to assure you that I've been here since the start. I've probably been hiding, but I'm so pleased that I've been here since the start. So I've heard every single one of you, and I'd just like to start by saying thank you for inviting me today to speak at this really important event, this International Day of Disabled People, having this launch of the manifesto of Disability Arts Cymru, Bring Us Our Creative Rights, Disabled People's Cultural and International Manifesto. What a tremendous achievement to get that manifesto ready for this launch today. So thank you, Ruth, for your continued leadership at Disability Arts Cymru, and also thank you as well to Cheryl for the fantastic poem and music. And you spoke about compassion, which is so much a part of our kind of approach to try and underpin also a rights-based approach to government as well. And also, it's great. Diolch, Phil, Eluned, great to see you. Diolch yn fawr am eich neges iawn, pwysig iawn. Thank you very much for important the messages. I've heard them all. And also, I have to say, good to be able to follow Rhian, because I would have been, Rhian was going to speak after me. So I'm really glad that I've actually been able to follow Rhian. So we work so closely together, but quite clearly independently in terms of holding me to account, which is crucial in terms of my role. So I'm here to recognise the work and vision of Disability Arts Cymru and the other key creative and cultural providers. You're dedicated to ensure all services reflect and help create a truly fair and more inclusive Wales. So Disability Arts Cymru is really paving the way to help create that equality we want within the Wales creative sector. Meaningful engagement that you have with disabled, deaf and neurodivergent people from across Wales, you're ensuring that voices are heard. You're central to implementing change. There is a long way for us to go, but I'm happy to help in any way I can. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of educating proactive allies who have power and opportunity for change, so we can fully understand how we can support the cultural rights of all disabled people in Wales. The Welsh Government welcomes your help in ensuring we fully understand how we can best support you. And some of you will have heard or seen my oral statement on Tuesday in the Senate, because we wanted to, and I did last year, of course, make sure that we marked in the Senate the International Day of Disabled People to take stock of where we were, the adverse, terrible impact of COVID-19 on disabled people's lives and ongoing challenges in terms of tackling inequalities. But, I think it's great that just hearing Rhian, as I said, that we could actually also say that in our programme for government and your influence in terms of leading up to the elections, that we will incorporate the United Nations Convention on the rights of disabled people into Welsh law. So that is a commitment. It's there. It's in the programme for government, and I'm so pleased that you also recognise that that's something. I mean, obviously, it's not straightforward, but nothing's straightforward when you want to make change. You just have to be committed and then move forward. So I'm your Minister for Social Justice in Wales, and I'm determined to address discrimination present in our society. It has led to deep-rooted inequalities that are imposed on the lives of people with impairments, thus creating disabled people. But we currently, as a nation, we're not at a place where our citizens can reach their full potential regardless of their background and circumstances. So things will and need to change. We want to ensure all disabled people in Wales, in all their diversity, are fully reflected in our rich cultural life. It was so good to hear Kate talk about the manifesto, how it highlights how disabled people are dynamic, diverse, intersectional, creative and innovative. And also we know disabled people's programmes are not always sufficiently funded. So the manifesto provides us with a snapshot on how disabled people feel and how effectively they engage with the Wales creative sector. It does provide a familiarity with disabled people's culture and contribution, and it will help us hopefully to undo the impact of segregation, institutionalisation and systemic ableism, which have all been mentioned today by speakers. But what's important about the manifesto, it contains the voices of disabled consumers, artists, actors, technicians working within the creative industries. I mean, we have to follow that through, because work implemented through listening and understanding intersectional experiences will help us make this sector become representative of all of Wales. And we must remember that disabled people represent, has been said, nearly a quarter of the Welsh population, not yet reflected or represented across creative industries. And the manifesto shows Disability Arts Cymru, and we've heard about that, the survey that's been undertaken of the citizens, how they feel that there could be progress regarding disabled people's rights in the next 5 years. They saw that some, very upsetting, that 64% were either unsure or not convinced. We've got to turn that round. Also, mention of representation within the arts sector, both as workers and consumers, very low at only 2%. Those figures are unacceptable, and collectively we must do better, as Phil George has outlined in his contribution as chair of the Arts Council. But to tackle deep-rooted and significant labour market inequalities faced by disabled people in Wales, Welsh Government's taking a two-pronged approach, tackling it from an employer and an individual perspective. We've invested around £70 million into our skills and employability programmes, and particularly prioritising those who've been most significantly impacted by the pandemic, including disabled people. And also, you'll be aware and know the network of 5 disabled people's employment champions. They're working strategically to create a cultural shift in attitudes amongst employers. And of course, what's crucial is that these employment champions are themselves disabled people. Now, it's already been mentioned, Rhiann's mentioned the Locked Out report, co-produced by the Disability Equality Forum, highlighting that stark toll that the pandemic has had and on disabled people, exacerbating the inequalities they already face. And also the terrible fact that across the UK, as I said on Tuesday, 6 in every 10 of COVID-related deaths were disabled people. So the fact that the First Minister and myself at the outset of this sixth Senedd had established this Disability Rights Task Force to tackle this work, to take forward and address the inequalities, I hope you feel is an indication of where we want to be and how we are approaching this. And I'm delighted to be joined by Professor Debbie Foster, author of the Locked Out report, as my co-chair of that task force. But of course, we have to take action in conjunction with our partners across the whole of Wales, our partners in the public, private and voluntary sectors. We've had our inaugural meeting of the task force, and I believe the task force will affirm the Welsh Government's commitment to be more inclusive through co-production, fundamental co-production to getting us where we are today. Now, I very much appreciate we need to have a break in this Zoom event, but I just want to say a couple more things in my contribution. I'm just focusing on outcomes. This has got to be about change, not more process nor report. This has got to be about improving outcomes for disabled people by addressing those inequalities and bringing them to the fore. And so we're going to be looking at the root causes of discrimination, which results in inequalities, and actions we've got to take to mitigate these inequalities at short, medium and longer term. But you know, and of course it's been commented on already, the importance of implementing the principles of the social model of disability into all of our work. That's our commitment in the Welsh Government, and I've restated it time and time again. We have already put in place some of those key building blocks identified by the Locked Out report and reflected in the Disability Arts Cymru recommendations. But it's crucial that the work puts the perspective of disabled people at its centre, applies the social model in all its actions, and we consistently affirm our commitment to the social model of disability, and will continue to do so. So as we move forward, co-production is key, co-chairing, and all the working groups, the steering group. I thank you all for all your engagement. It'll help each other also be accountable and learn how the responsibilities we all have to address inequalities, but very fundamentally, the spotlight on the Welsh Government. So thank you both, Ruth Fabi and Natasha Hirsch, for continuing your work as key members of the task force. You two and many other members of the task force have such a wealth of knowledge and lived experience to help drive our work. And I'm very pleased that John Luxton, my specialist advisor, is now a member of Disability Arts Cymru board. So we're all working, we're close together, but ready for the challenge and to make sure this is a dynamic way forward. So I'd like to end this contribution by reading just two sentences out of your manifesto, which are so important. Really also reflected in the backdrop to your backdrop as well, to what you were saying earlier on. In your manifesto, you say, "We seek social justice and fight prejudice on a daily basis. We are rebels and reformists, protesters and problem solvers." Thank you. I want to be one of those with you too. Diolch yn fawr.
Oh, diolch yn fawr. Thank you ever so much, Minister. Great words. Oh, wow. Wow, we've got through so much information there, and it's really heartwarming to know we're being listened to. We can see action starting to happen, but there's more to come. We need a 5-minute break. Please don't go away. Just turn your cameras off and we will launch the manifesto for you right after a 5-minute break. So see you here at 25 past. Thank you. Diolch. If you are okay. Oh, right, the recording's now. Welcome back, everyone. I know Friday evening isn't a great time to be doing such an important event, but we have such a great amount of people in this room, and hearing those talks and challenges and real commitments to what we're proposing with the manifesto is really quite exciting. But it's not just about writing a document, it's about how we can put those actions into words. So what we're going to do, we'll be clawing back a bit of time. We probably won't have a big Q&A, but don't worry, more will be coming in the new year that you can join us with. We're going to hand straight over to Andrew Hogan, who is the Agent for Change at Arts Council Wales, and he's going to introduce a number of people who are going to say what that particular demand we put into the manifesto will mean to them. So over to our wonderful Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruth, and thank you to everyone involved in this event. It's been incredible to see this manifesto brought to life, and it's been incredible to see the breadth of lived experience that's here on the panel and to all the previous speakers. And, you know, importantly as well, we know that we can do the work on the ground, but without the support of people like our minister, without the support of people like Phil George, the chair of the Arts Council, and of all these sponsored bodies and government who are going to put this into practice, is really difficult, and it remains abstract without seeing it in practice. And, you know, I don't want to take up too much time, and I want the panelists to bring the manifesto to life, as I said. So I'd like to invite our first speaker, John Luxton, to introduce the manifesto, please. John, you're on mute.
I can't say rookie error anymore, can I? We've been doing this for so long. Anyway, John Luxton. I wear glasses, got short hair. I'm in my late-ish 50s, and I wear the kind of flowery shirt, just hoping it makes me feel like the sun's out. So, okay. So I've been asked to talk about the Welsh Government's commitment to embedding the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People into Welsh law. This is so important to me and to Welsh Government. Welsh Government has a clear commitment to promoting and protecting human rights in Wales. In fact, its very existence, the embedding of its founding legislation, had this at its core, the first legislator in history to do that. So it's there in the DNA, if you like, of Welsh Government. This year, as we've already heard, Welsh Government published its programme for government. And in this document, it clearly commits Welsh Government to incorporating both the UN CRDP and also the actual and also the Convention on the Elimination of All Discrimination Against Women, and that's so important. We're also looking at things in wider terms as well. We're also examining a holistic approach to the Welsh, in relation to creating a Welsh Human Rights Act, which is kind of exciting. So this commitment, to actually put this commitment into action, we commissioned Swansea University, who are working in collaboration with Bangor University, Diverse Cymru, and also Young Wales, to examine how the convention could be incorporated into Welsh law, because of course this is the big question. I think the arguments about the need to do this are well won, and in Wales I don't think there was ever a question of doubt about that. This document, this promise, this report from Swansea University was published in August 26 this year. So since then, the recommendations from that document are being examined by Welsh Government officials who are seeking to understand the best ways forward of integrating into Welsh law. But in addition, we've heard today by all the speakers, the issue around the excitement of the Disability Rights Task Force. So I can say to you now, the deliberations around how the actual legislation can be put in place, disabled people play a central and active part in this, because the task force will be part of that decision-making process. So if some of you are not involved in that process, please use your organizations and your voices to make sure people who are understand your views and points of views to get your voice really at the start of this process. Of course, Welsh Government, once it comes down to...
John, sorry to interrupt there, we're limited time, but thank you for that. And yeah,
I had 2 words left, Andrew. That's absolutely fine.
Go on, John, finish off 2 more words.
Okay, actually the words were, Welsh Government will consult the legislative models with the public.
Thank you so much, John. And yeah, sorry, just before we move on, my apologies, I forgot to audio describe. I'm a black male in my early 20s. I wear glasses. I have a nose ring on the right side of my nose, and I have a septum piercing, and I have a slight stubble on my mustache and my goatee too. So thank you to John. Moving on now, I'd like to call Rhiann Davis to talk about the social model of disability.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for inviting me to talk about my favourite subject, social model. It's been around now for about 50 years, identified by disabled people, and the fact that it's barriers in society, whether those are attitudinal, environmental, or structural barriers that disable people, not their impairment or condition. And so it's those barriers that we need to remove and change. Yes, we'll still have our impairments, but we won't, the experience of discrimination, exclusion, poverty, should not be synonymous, with having an impairment or long-term health condition. So in terms of and it was so, it's always wonderful to hear once again the Minister recommitting Welsh Government to the social model. But what we need to see is that being not just a commitment by Welsh Government, but adopted by local authorities around Wales, local health boards, the Arts Council for Wales and other public bodies, to ensure that it really is part of the way that we organise society. So in terms of arts bodies, we need to see, that needs to be at board level, senior management level, an understanding of the concept of social model and how to implement it should be a core area of knowledge and skill. We need to see disabled people represented in boards amongst managers in the arts sector, as well as having opportunities for participation as artists, or behind the scenes in kind of artistic support roles, as well as the opportunity then for disabled people to engage in artistic and creative activities, whether that's directly in terms of being involved in sort of drama or theatre, film, art, or as a member of the audience or viewer in a gallery, or or whatever. So some of the practical things that can be done, looking at recruitment policies, looking at the way applications and interviews are run, looking at positive action, shadowing opportunities, internships, paid, of course. Also, looking at commissioning, disabled artists to undertake, work of cultural significance, ensuring that it is disabled performers playing disabled people in, in roles, not seeing, acting as a disabled person as your, route to an Oscar or whatever. So the social model, it revolutionized thinking around disability, and it's still a powerful tool, and it's important that it's fully embraced by everyone, but looking at concrete ways in which it can be implemented, not just a concept that people are happy to sign up to.
Thank you, Rhian. Before I bring Kieran Fitzgerald in, time is really tight, so I ask the panelists to please try and be as brief as possible, whilst obviously getting out everything that you would like to say. But I'd like to welcome Kieran Fitzgerald in to talk about the next point.
Dwi'n mynd I siarad am sut ni galluogi pobl anabl I cael eu hawliau creadigol yn y sector celfyddydol. Dwi'n mynd I siarad am fy safon personol I fel sgwenwr anabl. Rwy'n credu dylen ni fel artistiaid anabl cael y hawl I gweithio gyda unrhyw cwmni creadigol yng Nghymru ni eisiau gweithio gyda. Yn rhy aml, dydy organebau celfyddydol ddim yn digon I gysylltu â artistiaid anabl. Dwi wastad wedi dweud, os ydy organebau celfyddydol moyn denu fwy o artistiaid anabl, dylen nhw ddim disgwyl I ni dod o nunlle. Mae rhaid I nhw wneud yr ymdrech I cysylltu efo ni a dechrau dialog mwyn I ni cael ein cynnwys mewn y sefydliadau hwnnw. Dwi'n credu un o'r rhesymau dyw hyn ddim yn digwydd yw fod pobl yn ofni dweud y peth wrong neu wneud y peth anghywir. Felly, rwy'n credu mae rhaid I ni chwalu'r ofn na a dechrau'r dialog fel artistiaid anabl a bod yn hyderus pryd ni yn gyflwyno'n hunain. Mae hefyd y disgwyliad fod artistiaid anabl ond yn gallu gweithio gyda sefydliadau sydd yn benodol wedi ymwneud at artistiaid anabl, ond yn fy marn I, dyle ni gallu gweithio gyda unrhyw un. Felly mae'n yn dod nôl at cynhyddu weledigaeth artistiaid anabl, roi ein hunain mas na, a sut allan ni gweithio gyda mainstream sefydliadau a hefyd sefydliadau sydd yn benodol yn gweithio gyda artistiaid anabl. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you so much, Kieran. That was excellent, excellent. It's my pleasure to invite Johnny Cotson up next. I was also pleased to say that Johnny has accepted a role in my support group for the Agent for Change role, so it'll be, you know, invaluable to have his experiences and hopefully to have the voice of disabled people represented in the work that I do and the wider work that Arts Council do as well. So I'd like to invite him on to talk about BSL.
Thank Andrew. I'm Johnny. I am a white male, approaching late 40s, wearing a green fisherman hat, green shirt, wearing glasses. I also wear 2 hearing aids. I describe myself as a deaf man who speaks. As a young person growing up, I've always felt a bit lost or misunderstood or never fitted in. I never really knew why they got years and years of intensive speech therapy had enabled me to speak so I could fit in society or be normal. In class, I really wanted to learn about World War II, read the story of Jane Austen, and discover the periodic table. Instead, I was taken out of class and learning how to speak words. Pista, pista, escalator, escalator. This went on throughout my whole early school years. Although I spoke pretty good, I missed out on education and, more importantly, my identity. No child ever had to go through this. Every child had the right to learn. Every child had the right to access their education. While I was taught English in school, I had the average reading age of about 7-year-old. I was also told at the age of 14, I should never sing, I should never dance, I should never act. It completely shattered my dreams. After years and years and years, it had a negative impact on my confidence. Often I've thought if I had access to BSL in my early years, I would have thrived academically, but also would have enriched and enhanced my cognitive process, leading to higher abstract and creative thinking, better problem solving skills, greater cognitive flexibility and better listening skills, greater academic achievement and much more. I know that BSL promotes cultural awareness, literacy and other intellectual benefits. At the age of 41, I embraced my deaf identity, and now I use sign language with my circle of friends. I made a show about the trauma or disconnection that I faced when growing up. I am grateful that the art has given me the platform to discover my identity, but it should never be like this. If BSL would recognise in my early years, then maybe I would not be telling this story, but instead a story of acceptance and pride that should be recognised by everyone. I want it to be an experience that never happened to any child. I want young deaf people to be encouraged to participate in the art through BSL and other languages, show the world imperfections and challenges which people face. These are the exact things that make us human. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Powerful words there. I'd like to bring in Dr. Natasha Hirsch, who is going to talk about equality action plans and publicly funded organizations.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm Natasha. I'm a white woman in her 40s with long dark brown hair. I'm going to be talking about Article 30, which is about actions to support our creative rights. So this is about our rights to take part on an equal basis with others in cultural life. So in our manifesto, we're calling for a commitment to obligate publicly funded organisations to develop, implement and monitor equalities action plans that include access in its widest terms. So considering intersectionality as standard practice which impacts on audiences, participants, operational, technical and artistic staff to ensure that access is standard practice for all. So diversity, inclusion and access means absolutely nothing without clear targets and a sense of what this looks like and feels like in practice. Equality action plans turn those aspirational statements into meaningful action, and it also allows us to monitor progress and hold organisations to account. And this is where co-production plays such an important role. Nothing about us without us. It also marks out those organisations who've made a genuine commitment and investment towards disability equality, from those who think that glossy policies and hot air are completely adequate. We're done with being a tick box. This is a way that we can really demand change.
Thank you, Natasha. I think that the sentiment of nothing about us without us is one that rings true, and one that we must, all take forward from this meeting. So I'd like to invite Gaia Redgrave next.
Diolch, Andrew. Gaia, dwi dysgu Cymraeg, prynhawn da pawb. I am female, in my late 40s, with long brown hair, which is greying, and it's in bunches. I'm wearing purple glasses and a pink woven tunic. I'm speaking about accessible funding opportunities, and I wanted to speak about the difference accessible funding would make to me personally, but also from a holistic point of view as well. If I was able to access funding on a level playing field, I would no longer be liminal in the system betwixt and between arts sector funders' expectations and my reality. My voice would be heard without a fight. Let it be known that I'm exhausted and my head hurts from banging it against the persistent brick walls that those who build them do not see. If I was able to access funding on a level playing field, I would be visible for my work and the joy it brings, rather than seen as one of those awkward people that is always complaining. It would reduce the additional work that eats into my already diminished capacity and negatively affects my physical and mental health, and those who are not disabled have the privilege of not doing. I would no longer need to prove my validity as a person to others and believe it myself, even on my bad days. If I was able to access funding on a level playing field, I would no longer be marginalised at every turn due to the roll of the dice at my conception and for my life experiences. If I was able to access funding on a level playing field, I may then one day be defined by my work rather than my disability. If disabled artists were able to access funding on a level playing field and be valued for the beautiful, unique people that we are, we could live in the knowledge that we are an integral part of the arts and could lay down our gloves and have a conversation and know that we would be heard. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you so much, Gaia. So much to unpack from all the speakers. I'd really like to invite Sarah up next to talk about deaf and disabled cultural leaders.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Sarah Beer. I'm the Senior Arts Officer with Disability Arts Cymru. I'm a middle-aged woman with short brown hair, wearing a blue top and red-rimmed glasses. It is particularly important in these changing, challenging times that deaf and disabled voices, experiences, and natural leadership skills are acknowledged and developed. In Wales, there are still far too opportunities for disabled artists to gain the confidence they need to obtain leadership roles. We live in an ableist society which often denies disabled people the belief that they have a valuable contribution to make within the cultural sector. There needs to be a fundamental change in attitudes, and this will only come from everyone embracing the social model and recognizing that the lived experience of disability enriches our understanding of society and the role every single person has a right to play in whatever area they choose. It is vital that young disabled people have role models, and in Wales there are still far too few disabled people within arts organisations who can convince young disabled people that a career in the arts is a possibility. A leadership programme would lead us away from tokenism, and I believe would go a long way to enriching our cultural life in Wales. Today, and the launch of this manifesto, will be the start to rethinking how we deliver the arts in Wales for all its citizens. We are very fortunate to live in a country where arts and culture are recognised as being vital to the well-being of everyone. This manifesto will strengthen that recognition, and through a cultural leaders programme, we can guarantee the next generation of disabled people can fully participate in the cultural life of Wales. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Our final two speakers are going to touch on Article 32, which focuses on the international elements of the work being proposed. So I would like to invite Paul Linderwood, please.
Hello, my name is Honourable. A white male with brown hair wearing a shirt.
Hello, my name is Paul Linderwood. I am a white male with brown hair wearing a green checked shirt. I'm delighted to be speaking at this webinar. And believe very much that international cooperation
is a vital part of what
is a vital part of Disability Arts Cymru. Their manifesto. Disability in Wales and Africa, the organisation I work with. Promotes global solidarity between deaf and disabled people.
In Wales, Africa and beyond.
In Wales, Africa and beyond.
We take our lead from the Convention Article 32.
We take our lead from Article 32 of the UNCRPD.
And
and work to a social and rights-based model of disability.
And that's
I'd like to focus on 3 key reasons why we need to focus internationally.
One is
to learn from each other.
What has been achieved in different situations.
What has been achieved by overcoming the barriers in different situations.
What has been achieved?
What has been achieved
in
different situations,
and how can we apply our own situation,
and how that can be applied to our own situation.
To encourage people around the world.
Secondly, to encourage each other around the world.
To actually, because separation and isolation is the biggest. It's probably the biggest killer of any movement.
Because segregation and isolation is probably the biggest killer of any movement.
Thirdly, we need to make it clear disability rights.
And thirdly, we need to make it clear that disability rights
is a worldwide issue.
Is a worldwide issue.
Down to the bottom. Today, I have come from a webinar hosted by the co-hosted by DWA.
Today, I have come from a webinar co-hosted by DWA and Hub Cymru Africa.
We have definitely from Kenya, Uganda, and Wales.
We had deaf and disabled people presenting from Kenya, Uganda, and Wales. As I listened
to the range of contributions
to the range of contributions,
I was reminded that
on this International Day of Disabled People,
there is more than divides.
There is more that unites us than divides us.
Thank you.
Dewch. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Paul. Thank you. And the last panelist, last but not least, Andrew Bolton, please. You're on mute, Andrew.
Okay, so my name's Andrew Bolton. I'm a white man, glasses and grey hair. I agree with what Paul just said about the vital usefulness of international collaboration. But anyway, I'll try and be super quick as we're so late. So I collaborated with an Indonesian disability art group earlier this year on a mural project. I'm a visual artist. I'm mainly a mural painter. And the collaboration was online, where I created a mural in Cardiff. They created a mural in on Java. And they weren't the same mural, but they had common elements because we had so many Zoom discussions and things like that. And following on from that, which is a big successful project, we organised an international disability art exhibition in a gallery in Indonesia. And I got the work of quite a lot of disabled Welsh artists into the exhibition, including Cheryl Beer and various other people who were in this meeting. And my mural was sent over there as a digital file, and then they put it up outside the gallery. It's like full, well, not full scale actually, but it was a good 4 meters high. It was about 6 meters high, my mural. And I think that's an important thing, is that we can collaborate digitally, but there's still an outcome, there's an actual product that exists outside the sort of virtual world in this. So there's still something that people can just encounter rather than have to search for on the internet. So since then, I've applied to Wales Arts International to continue this project and been awarded the money. So this time I'm going to work with them, with various members of their organisation online again, and bring their work here digitally to Cardiff. What I'm kind of looking for is, because Indonesia is huge and it's a series of separate islands, I'm trying to find expressions of the sort of different cultures and visual traditions of the different islands and what they have in common, but also what do I have in common with them, as we're all disabled artists, and where is that like thread of something that runs through the whole of like disability art. I think this thing of solidarity between all of us around the world is like really exciting. Solidarity of disabled people and of disabled artists. And so, yeah, this will end up as a mural as well, which I think will, or I want to send out this message of what disabled solidarity is into sort of the mainstream of people passing by, you know, which it'll be great. That's it really, but I'd like to say as well that at the moment I get access to work for a support worker, but it doesn't give me enough hours. So I applied, as part of my application, I applied for more support worker hours for my personal access and got that. So it's great that I can push my artwork further because I am getting my support worker funded as part of this application. Yeah, that's it really. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. I just want to say just a big, massive thank you and well done to Ruth and Disability Arts Cymru, and to all the speakers and all the panelists. I think for me it's been just an incredibly moving webinar. To hear the breadth of experience, of lived experience, and hear the powerful words and contributions from everyone today has been something that has galvanized me to make sure that the work we do around deaf and disability rights is not an afterthought or something that happens afterwards. It's at the center of how we move as public bodies, is at the center of how we move as a society. And it's about time, it's about time. So really, really big well done to everyone involved, and I'll pass back to Ruth. Thank you, everyone.
Diolch yn fawr, Andrew. You're brilliant at leading that. Such rich things. So right now, 3, 2, 1, in the chat is the manifesto link. Woo! No. Oh, come on. Yay, there you go. It's launched now. It's going to be on our website from now on, and we're going to send it to you. Now we are running behind, and I think we're going to be able to finish 6:10. So support workers, can you please stay on and let us know back in the background what's happening? But we've just got 2 more really important things to do. This next thing is wonderful. Chris Tully-Evans is a wonderful writer and actor, and I'm going to hand straight over to him to talk about his commissioned piece for tonight, Talking Books. Thank you.
Shwmae pawb, Chris Tully-Evans ydw i, a dwi edrych fel yn hen hobo. Hi everybody, I'm Chris, and I look like an old grey hobo. I'm going to let the story talk for itself. So as sight reading is still a big barrier to those of us with severe visual impairment, I'm going to introduce Caroline John to read Talking Books for you. Without further ado.
Diolch yn fawr, Chris. I'm a white woman in her 50s, grey hair, grey jumper, reading glasses, because I'm reading Talking Books by Chris Tully-Evans. Talking Books. The last visitors to the Straw Book Festival had left, carrying bags for life brimming with exciting reading and eye-wateringly expensive cheeses and preserves. The unsold books were holding their regular readers' club. So are readers really getting more diverse? Asked White Teeth. I'm not sure, replied American Dirt. I think they're getting picky about cultural appropriation. I mean, my author's getting loads of stick about not being Mexican. It's not fair. Poor you, said the Deathly Hallows. No one expects my writer to be a teenage male wizard. I'm sick of everything being gritty and issue-based, said the tattooist of Auschwitz. What happened to good old-fashioned storytelling? You can do both, said the last house on Needless Street. I'm about mental health. Very current. Ah, spoke up the festival lectern. But all this diversity is in the characters. What about the readers? Or, for that matter, the authors? Are they becoming less one-dimensional? What would help? What would help my blind and visually impaired readers, said an Audible original, is if the well-heeled friends of the festival didn't always take up the front 10 rows, so my readers had a chance to see, or at least sense, the people on the stage. Same as my deaf readers, said the Deathly Hallows. BSL interpreters as standard on stage might be a start. And a more relaxed setting, said the venue. I sometimes feel more like a church than a tent. Some of them sew up themselves, it puts people off. Well, they are mostly posh at these events, said Sense and Sensibility. They can't help it. Culture is a right, not a privilege, said Down and Out in Paris and London. It's in the UN manifesto. Maybe things will soon get better, said Cloud Cuckoo Land. Maybe they will, said the lectern, and all the books shuffled their pages contentedly at this comforting thought. Nearby, on the walls of the Rick Vivian Art Gallery, the paintings were picking visitor of the day. Well, my favourite was that little tubby, hairy Welsh guy, said the Botticelli. He kept looking really intently at me, you know, getting close up and personal. Of course, my curator was furious. Get back, you, get back behind the line. That's priceless, that is. But I'm visually impaired. I can't see from back there, the funny little man kept saying. He was very tenacious and quite cross. I don't care what you are, my curator shouted. Get behind the line. I don't make the rules. Visually impaired, my ass, said the Pollock. He was probably just some hairy little perv trying to get a good latch at your assets. I don't believe so, said the Vermeer. The same thing happened when he tried to look at me. Yes, said the Botticelli. I think people should be allowed to get as close to art as they need to. But what if he wanted to deface you, said the Pollock. I do not think a painted line on the floor would have stopped him, said the Dali, or for that matter, a fish. Does it always have to end with fish? Asked the Pollock. In the Nash Theatre, the ghost light was complaining again. I know, but are we truly becoming more diverse, or is it all a load of Lenny Henry? It's never enough for you, beamed down the spotlight. You won't be happy until Rosie Jones is doing a one-woman steampunk adaptation of War and Peace. I think that might be quite a long night, said the last gilt cherub of the proscenium. It's not just actors though, is it? Said the ghost light. What about everyone else backstage, out front, top table, you know? But my company is giving lots of lovely little project grants to underrepresented groups, said the cherub. What more can we possibly do for the darlings? Let them in, said the ghost light. Really, properly, let them in. Don't just do some poorly funded token projects. Don't just buff them up and wear them on the lapels of your publicity like some golden diversity Blue Peter badge. Let them in. Really, properly let them in. I mean, they've got rights now. The UN says so. Well, we may have to, said the cherub. But if we do, they'll only make a mess on the seats and upset the proper actors. Mark my words. The para orchestra had broken for coffee, and the instruments were using the time to do a bit of team building. Lloyd's clarinet was leading, and the others were giving response. Some loud, some quiet, some big, some small, some metallic and brassy, some deep, dark and mellow, some excited, some restrained, but all united in the multi-timbre diversity of orchestra. What do we make? Called Lloyd's clarinet. Music, chorused the orchestra. What is music? The best of the arts. Where is music? All over the world. Who is touched by us? Everyone. Why is this so? Because we transcend culture, age, and language. We have been part of all cultures for all time, from the drumbeat of your mother's heart to the songs sung at your requiems. We stand by your side, whoever, wherever, and whenever you are. We stand with you. We are your right. So why is this way we work together not extended to all arts, all cultures, all people? Implored the clarinet on a descending scale. And suddenly the room fell silent, for no one, not even the clarinet itself, could find any reason not to at all.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, there's so much in that. Thank you so much, Chris and Caroline, for reading it so brilliantly. I'm going to hand over to the chair of Disability Arts Cymru now, Dr. Natasha Hirsch. So I won't give you too much of an intro. I could go on forever. Over to you, Natasha.
Thank you ever so much, Ruth, and diolch yn fawr to all of our contributors and presenters today. We've listened to such powerful contributions, and what an amazing group of people we have here. It's just such a privilege to work alongside you all. We've highlighted the 9 manifesto demands that can be used to assess progress, to make services and opportunities more inclusive, and to capture diversity in its widest terms. And disabled people deserve nothing less, yet our human rights have long been too easily disregarded. We still have to challenge lack of representation and negative stereotypes that repeatedly force us to justify our very existence. We know what barriers we face, and we've had enough of pointing them out. So we're demanding change. We demand to take up our place in society in exactly the same way that everybody else can take for granted. And that's where our manifesto comes in. Securing disability rights involves every single person, every single institution. And as other speakers have expressed far more eloquently than I can, access to culture and the arts is crucial for making our lives visible to others, for connecting and empowering deaf, disabled and neurodivergent people, and for creating the social change that we've been calling for a long time. It was an honour to collect an Arts and Business Award on behalf of Disability Arts Cymru last night, and it was a night where the achievements of the disability arts sector truly shone. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of all of our staff, our members, for the incredible work and dedication and the difference that you have all made to so many other people. Today has provided plenty of food for thought, but we don't wish for the manifesto to just be a document that captures these things. We'll be using it as a launch pad to deliver a series of workshops to empower and equip from deaf, disabled, neurodivergent artists through to funders, the government, local authorities and statutory bodies. Also arts and cultural venues, funders and commissioning bodies, because we want to ensure fair and consistent practices that can be encouraged. So to this end, we've already planned 3 workshop type events to support the manifesto to meet its aims by working with the wider arts sector and artists and creatives. So our first event will be on the 19th of January at 3 p.m. and that will be the manifesto in practice for arts organisations and venues. The second, on the 23rd of February at 3 p.m, the manifesto in practice for arts funders and statutory bodies and commissioners. And lastly, there'll be one focused on the art of artists and creatives on the 23rd of March, again at 3 p.m, about understanding the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People. And all of these links are popping up in the chat as I'm speaking. Alongside this, Disability Arts Cymru is pleased to announce that we'll also be hosting a number of Zoom events based on other aspects of the UN Convention, and thanks to recently gained funding from Disability Wales. So look out for more details of that. We are building something really powerful here. So bring us our creative rights. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr. That's brilliant, Natasha. I'm just going to wrap up to thank you all for coming. You will get a feedback form with the document links into that, but they are on the website now. I've got to thank so many people, you for coming, the technical workers for all their support, everyone who spoke tonight and all the staff, but also those of you who were part of the survey and doing the questionnaire. Your voice, I hope you feel we've done you proud and we've got something that we can really, really build on to see our rights are not just words, they are actions, and we will see ourselves more and more in the sector and internationally connecting. So keep safe, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Diolch, diolch, diolch. And get in touch with us soon, and let's see what happens next year. Thank you. Good night. Keep safe.